Okay. I'm going to check on my YouTube if it's actually working. Hi, everybody. Okay, we're on. Hi, please let me know if you can see us. Okay, I can see Tunu's message. So Tunu's on. Welcome, it's if you can see us, if you can hear us, let us know. So we had a bit of technical difficulties, but thank you for joining. If you can see us, you can hear us, let me know in the chat section and comment your name and where you are joining us from. Okay, Mary says she can see us. Thank you, Mary. Nice to meet you. Or nice to see your name and your chat here. Thanks for joining. Wait a couple more minutes. If you're joining us, please, your name and where you're joining us from. So, what country you're joining us from. Okay, there's Caroline from Kenya. Welcome, Caroline. Thanks for joining. We'll wait for just like another 2 minutes and then we'll start. Feel free to also use the chat box for your questions. Okay, 1 more minute. Yeah, if you're just joining us, please write your name, where you're joining us from, and we'll start in the next 1 minute. We're having some technical difficulties at the start of this, but we will get started pretty soon. We're just waiting for more people to join us and we'll be good to go. Thanks, Banky, for joining. Thank you, my brother, for joining. Simi. All right. So, my name is Temiloluwa Temi, and I'm a registered nurse in Canada. I schooled in Canada, completed my BSc nursing in Canada, and my guest is my mom, so I'll be calling her mommy lots on this call. And she completed her nursing school many years ago in Nigeria, and then moved to Canada. And she's a nurse, registered nurse in Canada. So I'll let her share a story with us on her journey, because a lot of times on my nursing videos, a lot of us are wanting to move to Canada, and we're from different parts of the world. Hi, Mary from Ghana. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. And so she'll just be sharing how she went through the process. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box. If we're unable to answer you here, I will make a video sometime, or just send you a personal message, or send you an email regarding your question. So, all right, Mom, I just did a brief introduction, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Bridget Durojaiye. I am married with children, of course, that's my daughter. And I'm a registered nurse in Nigeria, West Africa, and also in Canada.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll jump straight right into it. So when you started to process your journey to becoming a nurse in Canada, what pathway did you specifically use in moving to or becoming a nurse in Canada?
Thank you for the question. I would like to start by saying I was already in Canada as a student in one of the colleges, so in British Columbia. So I applied to the National Nursing Assessment Service, known as like NNAS, that's the acronym. And they have some requirements which I submitted. That is foreign credentials, which includes your transcript from your school of nursing, your syllabus with which you were trained, and the English text results. I wrote the Selvan, and I applied to be licensed as LPN and RN both. And at this time, NNS does not require English test result again, but the regulators, that is the College of Nursing of your choice, may require it. So after I submitted the credentials, there are other things you have to submit, like your IDA, your birth certificate. Is a lot. But these are just the foreign credentials, the transcript from my school of nursing and the syllabus. So they have evaluated my foreign credentials and they compared it to the current Canadian standard. After that, I got an advisory report. For my LPL, the report says somewhat comparable. And for the RN, it says not comparable. So the next step is to apply to the College of Nursing to the province of your choice. I said my first choice then was British Columbia. The British Columbia had a long waiting process and a mandatory assessment. And then I had the option to port my report to any other province of my choice. So I decided to transfer both the LPN and the RN report to Nova Scotia. So I applied to the College of Nursing in Nova Scotia. So they reviewed my reports. And after the review for the LPN, I didn't get any additional courses to do, no training. And the college gave me eligibility to write the LPN exam. And this is because I had over 10 years experience in Nigeria. So they waived those assessments and additional courses for me. So the college prepared us for the exam. After that, I wrote the LPN exam, known as the Canadian Practical Nurse Registration Exam. So I passed the exam and they issued me the LPN license. So I got a job, started working as an LPN. And then I had to move to Nova Scotia at this time. So working as LPN, I continued with the process of the RN. For the RN, the
Mom,
college review.
I was just up here just real quick so I can repeat what you said and then go to the RN. So Canada has like a central nursing body, National Nurses Assessment Service, I think, something like that. You send your credentials to them. So you send your transcript to them. The transcript is first evaluated by Wes, I believe.
No.
Okay, no. Okay, so you just send it directly to
So
NNA.
NNAs, yeah.
Okay, so you send a transcript directly to NNAS, and then they evaluate you. Then you send your syllabus. So that means that, okay, so maybe if you did like the courses you did, if you did human anatomy, exactly what that human anatomy covered. So your syllabus has to be comprehensive and rich enough. So the syllabus you used that year you were in school, you have to get it because that's what they will use to compare to the syllabus here in Canada, and then give you the advisory report, which is, are you comparable with the standards that they teach their LPN or their RN in Canada? So what my mom's saying is basically that she did that, and they said whatever they taught her from school was somewhat comparable to the LPN, but not comparable to the RN. So depending on, sometimes your school, they might not give you like the full comprehensive robust syllabus, and that might mess up your advisory report. So you have to ask them to write as much detail as they can on what they taught you or what they used to teach you at that time, so that you can use that against the way against the Canadian curriculum as well. So after she got that, in your NNAS, you provide what designation you want, if you want LPN or RN or both of them. I also have a video on my channel that's like also breaks this down. And then after you do that, you pick your provinces. So depending on how many provinces are you allowed to pick?
As many as you can. Just that you pay extra for each
Pay
province you pick. Yeah.
as many as you can, you pick, and then you pay more money depend as in per province.
For each province you pay more.
So when they advise you, then whatever province you pick, because Canada goes like every nursing body is regulated by province. So if I'm licensed in Saskatchewan, I can't go to a different province and practice. I have to be licensed in that practice in that province.
Province.
So what that means is the nursing body of that province is going to like look at the advisory reports from NNAS and then tell you, okay, if you need to take some more classes, if you don't need to take some more classes, and depending on the provinces, there are more things that you need to do. So she started out with British Columbia, and but British Columbia has a couple more things. They want you to do like some assessment, but Nova Scotia has a more lax, or they just have a different requirement. I didn't have to do so many things. So she ported her results to Nova Scotia. Mommy, so tell us about the porting process. What does that mean to port your results from province to
Okay.
province?
So NNAS gave us the options to port the report. If you want to port a report, you pay an extra fee and you like write an email to them to port your result to that province. You notify NNAS. So they will port your report to the province. So when your report gets to the province, you as the candidate, you apply to the College of Nursing in that province. So the province at this time will also review your report from the NNAs. So it's from the review they will now advise you on the next thing to do. Sometimes you may get some additional trainings or additional courses to do. In my own case, for the LPN, there was no additional courses given to me, and there was no need for additional training because they said I have over 10 years experience, so that counted for me.
Mhm.
Others who had less than 10 years experience had to go through some assessment and did some additional courses, but it wasn't so for me because of my experience.
Okay.
Okay. Do you understand? So I got eligibility right there to do the LPN exam.
Okay.
But the college helped us further by preparing us for this exam. We had classes online for about 8 weeks, talking, gave us some tips on how to answer questions because this is the first time we are entering into the Canadian system. So there's some tips on how to answer questions and what you are expected to do, how to like eliminate some questions or some answers and how to pick the right one, some tips. And that really helped a lot. So we did this online for
Okay.
8 weeks. So after the preparation, I just picked the date. So it now left up to you as a candidate. Pick a date of your choice, then go and write the exam. So when I did, I passed at my first sitting.
Wow.
So after that, you get the LPN license. So that is how I got the LPN license. So I got a job and started practicing as LPN. I did not stop at that, so I went further to continue with the RN registration. So yeah, can I
Okay.
go?
Yes, you can go ahead with the how you went through the
So
errands.
yeah. So while working as LPN, the RN review from the college gave me some additional courses for me to meet up with the registration requirement as RN in Canada. So I had some additional courses to do because my NNAS advisory report stated it's not comparable to Canadian education. So I had 10 courses to do. So they actually referred me to a college in Nova Scotia where I can do the courses. So I registered for the courses. I did the courses. It took about 1 year. I completed the courses and I did my practicum for 12 weeks in the hospital. So after that, the school now wrote back to the college that I have fulfilled all requirements. So the college now gave me eligibility to write RN NCLEX. So I prepared for the NCLEX, wrote the NCLEX, and also passed at one sitting. So yeah, and I got the RN license.
Okay. Wow. You went back to school. That's really admirable. Um, just really quick, your NNAS advisory report, that one report that you got for both the LPN and RN, did you have to go back for other reports when you were ready for the RN, or you used the same one?
It's the same report.
So just one report is good. How long is it good for the rest of your life?
I
Or
think the report is good for 2 years.
okay, for 2 years. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So my next question is before just because we talked about LPN and RN, can you just tell us quickly the differences between LPN and RN?
Okay. So the LPN and the RN, I would say most of it are like the same, but there's just a little difference in the scope of practice. Like the RN, they do more of the invasive procedures, and then the RN takes care of unstable patients. What I mean by unstable patients, patients with abnormal vital signs, the RN takes care of those because you have more knowledge, while the LPN takes care of patients who are stable, those whose vital signs are normal. Yeah, so
Okay. So you're coming to kind of first question. So what kind of jobs were you able to do in school as you were going through your program?
okay. So while I was in school, I worked as a care aide. I did mostly home care. I got a job with an agency. They used to send us to people's home to go and take care of them. You can stay there for like 6 hours. Mostly it was weekend because then I couldn't work more than 20 hours a week. So
Mm-hmm.
it was night shift and it would be 6 hours, but it was just weekend jobs. And then that was it. So I worked as a care aide.
Okay. Um, so how did you study for the NCLEX exam and the CNPRE, so the practical nurse exam?
How I studied for it.
Yeah, like what materials did you use?
For the Canadian practical nurse exam, there's a book we ordered from Amazon. It has a lot of questions and answers and rationales in the book. And then, like I said, the school college also prepared us. We had a tutor online that taught us what to do, how to answer questions. So that was what I used, and it was okay.
Okay, and that was
The RN, I use UWorld and Bedford, Sanders English Review. It's a book there. I think the edition I used there was the fourth or fifth edition.
okay.
It was okay.
All right. So for somebody who is back home, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, wherever they might be, how like what would be the first step? So would they have to come to Canada as a student or or can they do from back home with the NNES and things like that?
I would advise that it's better to do it while on ground if you're in the country. Because if you start it while you are still outside Canada and you get to the point of getting your advisory reports, you should now send it to the College of Nursing of your choice and they now give you additional courses to do. You have to be in the country to do those courses. So if you're outside, getting in will be difficult. And if you come in as a visitor, you will not really move ahead because you are a visitor. So you must have a legal status in Canada to do your processing, either as a PR or you are here as a student.
So you must have it to proceed. Yeah. All right. The next question is, what's the difference between nursing in Canada and nursing in Nigeria, like from your observation?
Nursing in Canada is more advanced than what nursing is in Nigeria. In the sense that here technology has really helped a lot and improved a lot of things. We have all the machines we need to work. You have a lot of equipment here that makes your job very easy. I will just give an example. In Nigeria, if you are giving somebody an intravenous infusion, we still use the gravity. You handle IV fluid, you regulate and all that. But here in Canada, if you are given an intravenous infusion, it must pass through a smart pump. The pump does the calculation for you, like how many drops you want per minute. All you need just put the figures in the machine, inputs everything. The machine does the calculation for you. Unlike the gravity that you have to put your wristwatch and start counting drop by drop by yourself. So that is one of the things. There's quite a lot of difference. I remember when we were in school, we had a lot of mannequins to practice with. There's actually a mannequin that can breathe, that has a pulse, a mannequin that can cough. So, so it's really the difference is quite much, and yeah, because they are well advanced in technology in this part of the world, so it makes your job easy.
So do you think it's fair that they ask you to do those more classes?
Yeah,
Okay.
so this will really help, especially when you want to do your final exams. Indeed. And for you to actually get into the system, you have to do those trainings, otherwise you mess up big time. You really mess up. Yeah.
Okay. Um, any advice to somebody who has a kid who is trying to go back to nursing?
If you have a kid and you want to go to nursing school, I advise that you have a very good support because the school is quite demanding. When I was in school, I remember we're doing tests every week, every Friday. You have a lot of assignments, you have group work to do. So it's a lot of reading. So you need a very good support at home so that you will not be distracted. When it comes to the practicum, we're doing 12 hours, probably because it's like internationally educated program. Our practical was 12 hours. We go to work 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. and that was 5 days in a week. So it was quite much for us. So if you don't have a very good support at home, you'll be frustrated and then you'll be distracted. So you need a very good support, somebody to take care of your kids for you.
Okay, so we need a good support system to be able to manage the caseload and manage the workload. So that's pretty much all the summary. Really, you have to go through NNAS, and depending on the province. Although now Nova Scotia announced that you didn't have to go through NNAS. That you could just directly apply to them. But for most of the other provinces, you have to go through NNAS. But as things have changed, this was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago that my mom had to do all this. But like as things have changed, a lot of things have also sort of relaxed. They are not as stringent, especially when it comes to like the nursing, the English assessment. That was always a big barrier for some people. They have to get a certain score. People have written their exam like 3, 4 times trying to get a certain score, and it was just harder for them to join in or to be able to meet all the requirements. So right now, the cell ban is not needed for like NNAS, but for the provinces, they're needed. So you have to go province by province to be able to figure out what that province needs.
Requirements.
Yeah, so the different requirements. Yeah, so if you have questions, please put it in the chat box. If you're not sure, if you have specific questions, put it in the chat box. It's important that you're legal in Canada. So even if you're starting the process from outside, you have to think about how to get to Canada legally, because if the college does recommend things to do, you have to be on ground to be able to do it. You can't really do it from back home or anything like that. So yeah, I'll wait for some questions before I ask my mom any final like words of encouragement that she has or anything. So we'll just wait for a couple more minutes. Hi Tara. Questions, questions, questions. Okay. There's one question here. It says, what's a realistic timeline for someone that just relocated to become licensed in Canada in terms of months or years?
I would say probably with the way things are now, maybe 1 year. It now depends on the province. Like you said earlier, Nova Scotia has like waived the NNS part of this process. So you can actually apply directly to Nova Scotia College of Nursing, submit all the requirements, and they will, you know, advise you on what to do. So most likely when you submit all the requirements, you get a conditional license if you have not passed your NCLEX. So
Mm-hmm.
you can practice with that for 1 year, and they require you to write the NCLEX within that 1 year. So in 9 months to 12 months with Nova Scotia, you can scale through. There are other provinces, there's this flexibility all around now because of the shortage of nurses. So, but I'm sure of this Nova Scotia, and I think Ontario too is very flexible. Within 9 months to 1 year, you can get your license in Ontario.
Okay, so Ontario and Nova Scotia are flexible.
New Brunswick too.
Okay,
They don't require the English exam. Yeah.
I'll just type that in the chat box. English exam. Um. Okay. There's a Mr. Dolapo Banjoko here. On average, what's the acceptance rate for diploma in LPN and what are the basic requirements? So specifically on this chart, we're just doing like someone who has a nursing background and then who became like an LPN. So they didn't have to go back to school to do the LPN program. They just like compared their nursing credentials back home with the nursing curriculum in Canada, and then they were able to proceed to just write the exam directly. But on average, the acceptance rate for international students is about maybe 5% because it's a very competitive program. So what I found is that people come in with like health studies or a different program, and then they switch to the LPN. So that's something that you can also try out, but you can also apply. But most schools would take students who are already in the country over like back home. So yeah. And the basic requirements for that, I also have a video, but the basic requirements are pretty much your WAEC, your math, English, physics, chemistry, biology are important to have those. Um, and if you have already a degree, then you can just put your transcripts as well to waive like your WAEC and all of that. But most the because people go directly from high school from here to LPN, so they don't really have a lot of requirements per se. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Um, Simi's asking, Prince DJ is asking, how did you both cope in school? Or were your peers very helpful? Did you have imposter syndrome? Mom has really, she has talked a bit about like coping through school. Like if you have kids, you need a strong support. So maybe like a friend that you can drop your kids with, a supportive spouse that's like, willing to cook and do all those things to support you through school. So yeah, that's also very helpful. And for me, how was I able to cope? I also had like a nursing buddy, so which was my friend Ifeji. So we went through nursing school together. So we were able to study, and that was very helpful. And if I had imposter syndrome, yes, I did. There are times I was like, oh, am I supposed to be here? But you have to get out of your head and also recognize that you're exactly where you should be. And imposter syndrome is very common. People have it. Maybe you've done school for like, you've not gone back to school in like 10, 15 years. You're now going back. Actually, I'll let my mom talk about that. So you had not done school for a while. You now have to go back to school and start learning. How did that feel for you?
Actually, when you look at the end result, then you now know that yes, this is something I want to achieve. So you make up your mind. You must be determined that whatever it will take, you want to achieve that result. So you just have to make up your mind to do it and face it. You get ready to read, get ready to do the assignments. Like whatever comes your way, you do it because yeah, that is what keeps us going. Because you look at the end, but what you want to achieve at the end of it. So that's what kept me going. So
Yeah. When you were feeling discouraged, what made you, pick up again?
sorry, say that again. There was
Like
a
when
break.
you felt discouraged, what helped you pick up again?
Like I said, the end result. Like okay, this is what I want. You can't stop halfway. You have started, so like no, I must finish. I don't want to stop halfway. I
Mm-hmm.
must get to the end. So that was what kept me going because I didn't want to like leave the whole thing halfway. I wanted to finish. Yeah. So that kept me going.
Awesome. Thank you, Ma. There's a question there. How can a diploma midwife with about 4 years experience apply to work in Canada? Um, so in Nigeria and like Kenya that I'm sure of, I know that they do their nurses, and when you become a nurse, you're actually a midwife most of the time because they seem to do it together. Um, But in Canada, a midwife is almost like a family doctor for the pregnant lady or the pregnant person. So they follow their pregnancy from like a few moments after conception to like birth and 6 weeks after. So it's a very highly regulated program. Only BC, Ontario, Alberta has something that enables foreign midwives to come into Canada. They're very stringent with the rules. I'll also make a video about that and I'll do a live about it as well. But BCCNM is a good place to check out. So it's the British Columbia College of Midwives and Nurses, and that provides you more information. But typically, you need to have had maybe like almost 1,000 births by yourself, where you're the primary midwife. You need to have completed a midwifery like studies that is comparable with them in Canada. Then once those are all checked off, then they now again advise you to do some courses or not, and then they would like put you in a mentorship or internship for like about a year or something like that. So, but it's not that straightforward. You can't just apply to just work and somebody just accept you. You need to go through a regulatory body and make sure that you're actually qualified because we're talking about people's lives. So you need to make sure you're actually qualified to like work based on the Canadian regulations. So yeah, if there are any more questions, please post it real quick. We're about to round off. Any other questions about? So this is specifically if you're already a nurse, you already have a nursing degree, you are a nurse from back home, wherever you are, and you're planning to become a nurse in Canada, so planning to be licensed in Canada. You can't skip the license program, so you have to write the NCLEX, so you have to write the practical nurse exam. You can't skip those. That's what actually qualifies you to be an RN or a licensed practical nurse. So you need both of them. And so even if you're coming for a master's, you can't practice nursing without being licensed, even if you come for a master. So you can come, you can get your master's degree, but you will not practice as a nurse in Canada. So yeah. I don't think there's any more questions here. So, mommy, any final words of encouragement or like thoughts about the process to somebody who's like considering it, who's thinking about it? Is it worth it? Should I bother? Um, what if I can't cope? Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah, the first thing that you must have in your mind is that be determined. The nursing school is not easy because a lot of things will come your way. Make up your mind that against all odds, you will finish and you want to finish well. Believe in yourself, be determined, don't be frustrated, focus on what you are doing. And I will also say, pray for God to help you because you need the help of God as well. So don't stop halfway, go all the way. If somebody can do it, then you can.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were still.
Then I'm done.
Okay. Um, there's a question here. What would you advise an engineering student that wants to switch to nursing? What I would advise an engineering student that wants to switch to nursing is pretty simple. Switch to nursing if you want to switch. There's really no advice. The only thing is that some of your classes might not carry over from your engineering, but there are maybe some electives that could transfer over to your nursing. But you apply to nursing school like someone that's just a high school, like a first year university student. So again, if you're from Africa or somewhere else, it will be your high school diploma from those places or your senior school living certificates, anything like that. So you would write that on there. And I mean, so you submit that credential or you submit that document, but it's not going to be difficult. It's just that some of your engineering courses might not transfer over, just the electives like English or something simple, but you can definitely switch for sure. Hi, Auntie Kate. Thank you for joining. All right. So, in the absence of any more questions, you can email your questions to nursingwritinghelp@gmail.com or on Instagram. So, there's a question here.
There's a question here.
Please,
The
is there
question
a
from
way,
Grace.
please, is there a way diploma midwife from Ghana can work in Canada? Because I don't understand the explanation you gave. Grace, there is a way. But what I'm saying is you will not be able to practice as a midwife until you're licensed in Canada to practice as a midwife. So I'm saying that the three provinces that I've seen that have like a pathway for that is British Columbia, Ontario, and Alberta. So you have to do more of your research on those provinces. But from what I have seen on their website, you have to like have completed midwifery studies that are comparable to the standards in Canada. So you would submit your diploma pretty much, they would evaluate it using WES. You submit that diploma um, in midwifery, then they will compare and tell you, okay, is this acceptable to Canadian standards or not? If it's not, then you cannot be licensed as a midwife in Canada, but you can come to school. Actually, it's even harder to get into midwifery school, to be honest. So you can come to school in Canada as a midwife. Most midwives were nurses and then they just did a couple more years and they became midwives in Canada. It's not as straightforward as it is in Nigeria or like Kenya or Ghana. So you would go through the province, submit your documents. You must have attended. So that means you must have been the primary midwife for at least 1,000 births for them to just like in addition to what they will use to grant you your license. So it's a whole lot of process, but I can email you more. You can ask me your questions through the email that I just posted in the chat box, and I will send you more information about that. Um, there's also a question here. I have a diploma in nursing from Kenya. I don't know if that's a question they're trying to ask me, but if you're also trying to be a nurse in Canada after having a diploma, it's pretty much the same thing through NNAS, or you can apply to study, apply to an LPN school in Canada, and then just do the LPN instead. So yeah. Any more questions? Okay, because I also have a playlist, a nursing playlist, so that also contains quite a number of information about, excuse me, about like nursing in Canada. So like even the different schools that you could check out. There's also that as well. And then if you have more questions, you can feel free to message me, send me a DM on Instagram, or send me an email, and I'll be able to respond to you there. Okay, I hope that this session has been informative, and feel free to pass it along to friends, family that you know already have a BSc in nursing and are interested in coming to Canada. And yeah, we'll be happy to help them. All right, thank you so much, Mom, for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us, and also reminding us that we can do it. It doesn't matter our age. We can push through as long as we keep our focus and also trust God to get us to the finish line. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.